I'm in a hotel room in Biloxi, Mississippi. And ooh, the scourge that tile guys have, like everywhere we go, we disseminate, well, I disseminate bad tile jobs on my channel, but we at least critique, like, was this guy very good? Did he do a good job on this? It doesn't matter if we're in a McDonald's bathroom or at a hotel. Anywhere we go, we're always looking, even a friend's house, like, did they do a good job? And so I've been here for a couple of days and I'm like, this isn't bad. I don't know if I'm gonna do a video, like I don't wanna just like make up stuff, right? But as I stayed here, I started realizing there are a couple little hiccups, so to speak. It's not a bad job overall. It really isn't, but I'm gonna talk about a couple of things that for homeowners and DIYers who generally watch my channel, to kind of keep in mind. I like this tile. It's a very nice rectified porcelain. And when I say rectified, and I say that a lot because my customers will have a choice. When I tell them rectified is a better tile, then they buy a couple of samples and one of them might be rectified, but then they choose the other one instead because of the look rather than the niceness of the tile. When I say rectified, I mean the tile has a definitive square, like just square. Some of the tile that's sold nowadays from China and other places might say rectified on the box, but they're not because they have a little curvature. And that little tiny curvature matters. In order to get this 1/16 spacing, you have to have rectified. And then they're like, the curvature is going on and I want 1/16 spacing. Well, you can't get that with a non-rectified tile because that curvature matters when you're trying to put it in a clip. And so they managed to get the pretty close to 1/16 spacing on here, which is very nice. And without a doubt, because it's staggered in half, this 12 by 25 is staggered in half, without a doubt they use leveling clips, which work because this doesn't have any lippage. The tiny bit of lippage that it does have in the middle is kind of atypical, even if you use leveling clips a lot of times. But that being said, it's really not that bad. I mean, I don't go into critique something just for critique's sake. So I'm gonna give them a pass on the wall, as if my pass or fail matters. I can't tell because there's a plate on here. Oh, I can move the plate off. They did a pretty good cut on the inside of here because I always look for if there's a cut like right on the edge and all that stuff where they're just hiding the cut with the plate. But they did a pretty good job there. I did notice that they didn't have a hole cutter, but then again, this is a square. And I've run into this a couple of times where the shower neck actually has a square attachment rather than the hole that we're accustomed to. That being said, they did make oh, that's a pencil mark. Oh, they never erased the pencil mark. I thought this was like cuts. Yeah, no, they did a good job on this. They did a good job. So this square part goes into where it actually goes into the drop L in here. And it is circular, but as you turn it down, that square pushes up against the tile and all that stuff. So you have to have kind of a square cut-ish on some of them. But this isn't bad at all. This is nicely done. It has a texture on it, which I appreciate, especially if you're going to do this on a floor, so I appreciate the texture. When I talk about not doing caulking in the corners, and I talk about it frequently on my channel, and I get pushback on it, the caulking thing for a homeowner is very difficult because whether you use latex or silicone or whatever, there is a definitive when I say there's a professional way to do caulking where it looks really, really nice, and you put your finger on it or use one of those tools or whatever and you rub it down and it just looks all contiguous, right? There's no hiccups on the caulking. Most homeowners cannot do that, so I don't advocate for caulking unless it's necessary. Where the change of planes are at, where this tile meets that tile, the cracking doesn't necessarily happen because of the movement of the building, because yes, your building moves incrementally over time. The wood and all the different materials that we have move from time to time. This cracking normally occurs because you have the edge of this tile meeting this tile, right? So you might have a factory edge that's kind of rough meeting kind of a smooth side. and the grout doesn't stick necessarily to that, and then after a while, or doesn't adhere really well the way it does between two rough surfaces. So that rough surface meeting the smooth surface begets the grout coming out. It's not necessarily because there's movement. You understand? So my take on it, there's no difference between here and here. If water can get through here, it can get through there as well, right? With the grout there. So the caulking isn't needed. You know, water's still gonna go down that way. If caulking is needed because, you know, there's kind of profound separation or cracking or something like that, yes, then do caulking later on. But my own shower I had in my other house, 12 years later, there's not one piece of caulking in the whole shower except for the door, or the shower glass rather. This is coming out, but if I were the maintenance crew here, I would just get some DeLorean gray grout and then just kind of like put some grout back in there. I wouldn't advocate for the caulking. Caulking, not only is it hard to put in because it takes a certain skill level to put it in, that's what I was looking for, skill level, but also because when you take it out 4, 5, 6 years later, because it's got grungy or whatever, you know, scraping that out on some of the type of tile that we're putting in is very, very difficult, especially with silicone. So that's why I don't advocate for it. Let me back up. There has to be a failure for there to be a resolution. There has to be, you have to have a problem first to come up with a solution. So if this crack in this area was that big of a deal, that there was damage and stuff going on in the wall behind it or somehow failed the shower, then yes, I would advocate for a solution. But there's no problem here. It may not look good and then you remediate that look, but there's not a functional problem going on in that transition area. Anyway, I digress. The reason that I address this so adamantly, because I get a lot of pushback on videos where I do critiques of showers and all that stuff, specifically about this subject. So I wanted to kind of like put that to rest. Well, I'll still get comments and stuff like that. The glass is, this shower is probably at best about 5 foot in length, and there's no door on it. The glass is frosted 2/3 of the way up. It's okay. But here's the interesting thing. Normally, what the glass guys are doing, they're putting clamps at the bottom. And in order to put the clamps on, you have to drill into the curb. Guess where the clamps are at? Isn't that cool? That's just so cool that they just decided, you know what, we can cut this glass almost to the top and put clamps at the top instead of the bottom. Having said that, if I'm correct, I believe these rails also have screws in them. I know the wall does. So I don't know if this really helped except for stabilization purposes, but I believe they still drilled into the curb. Let's talk about the curb for a moment. The Schluter trim that they used, not bad. You know, like I don't have a problem with that. I've done the outside and the inside of curbs with Schluter before, and I like the rounded feature of the Schluter and all that stuff. But having said that, there's a lot of lippage. The Schluter literally has lippage going on at the bottom, which is not a big deal. Not a big deal. The cuts on the tile, nice tight 45 going on here. Nice cut going on here where they did, a lot of lippage on here. It's not a bad setup at the curb. However, they didn't, even though they 45 the tile, they didn't 45 the Schluter. Instead, they opted for these little corner pieces and the inside corner piece too, which is okay. But these pieces alone are generally as expensive as a whole stick of the Schluter. So I don't do these corner pieces just because of the cost is kind of stupid. But I understand why they did corner pieces, because it's at a hotel and they didn't want to cut like a sharp edge probably on there. Having said all that, there's no slope on this curb. It's literally, I don't have a level with me, but I can tell that it's pretty much flat. And if there is a slope, it's very minute, which, you know, is not a huge deal, but you're gonna get water stains and stuff like that. See the water stains? That little orange tint, because water doesn't shed off the way it should. Linear drain, and if I can, I'm going to try and pull that out if I can find something to pull it out with. Linear drains are kind of cool. People want these. very frequently over the last probably 10 years or so. But through experience, and other customers have told me that they're kind of a cesspool. You know, it's a tray, and that tray has a slope going down to the center where the drain proper is at, but that tray itself gets all mucked up with stuff, you know, hair and soap residue and shampoo residue and all that stuff. So people are kind of moving away from the linear drain type of thing. And I don't know if I can get in there. No, I'm gonna need some type of, I'll see if I can find something in my bag to pull this out. But I almost guarantee that the maintenance and the cleaning crew and all that stuff aren't doing, you know, the proper due diligence on cleaning that out. What else to say? Because they did a linear drain, they had to kind of cut. I don't know why they did this quite. They could have done, anyway, so they did like a half cut of a tile in order to have this slope going here. I don't remember ever having to do that. They could have just done one square over. But you know, overall it's not bad. If I can, I'll pull that cover out and I'll show you all the garbage in there. But overall it's not bad. All right, I managed to get the drain cover out. It was really, really difficult. I had to go grab a tool and just kind of jiggle it to get it loose. So what happened was, and of course it's a hotel, so my take on it is the tile guy is just doing this and then going into the next room and doing that and all that stuff, and they basically grouted in the drain cover. So without a doubt, this thing hasn't been cleaned out, ever, as long as this hotel has been here. And you can tell the grunge starts right there. It's so nasty. Look at that. Look at that. That's just so disgusting. And I don't know, you know, like, if it's, what, you know, out of sight, out of mind, I guess. Yeah, the hotel staff is never going to do this type of cleaning that needs to be done. But then again, this is over years, but still, I'm just saying, just literally a cesspool. It's just, this is one of the reasons why people are getting away from linear drains. They just hold this water in here, and I don't know what these things, these clips make it for this little frog pond left and right. The drain isn't really sloped enough to do what it's supposed to do. I think that's part of it. Interesting here though, when I see the bottom of this tile, you know, the mesh that's part of the tile is kind of sticking out. I'm not seeing the mortar pan. I don't know. They may have built this hotel literally with the concrete pre-sloped so that they don't have to have all of that stuff. But oof, if I could get a flashlight, you might not want to even see what's going on there. It's just pretty nasty. It's pretty nasty, yeah. I don't even want to touch it now. Oof. Pretty from the top, but pretty disgusting on the rest of it. And if nothing at all, it's a very, very tight fit. I don't even know if we would. I'm gonna need both hands to put it back in. Very, very tight fit. I don't think it's ever been taken out. But anyway, that being said, overall, scale of 1 to 10, it's about an 8. 7.5, 8. They could have done a better job. A little better job, but then again, it's a hotel, so no need to. You know, the symmetry is good. Full tile down there, and the cut that they needed, you know, 8-9 inches up there at the top. That's all I have to say about this. It's just kind of fascinating for tile guys to see how the other guy did things, you know? See if you would have done it the same way. None of these 3 lines match up, which is only slightly, you know, only slightly, to me, annoying. I try and get symmetry the best I can, but it's not always possible, especially with the 2 variances of the tile and stuff. Yeah, this is 16. This might be an 18. This might be a 24-inch piece on the bottom. You're not gonna always be able to line things up the way you want to. And there should have been a niche in here. I'm not crazy about these shampoo things, and I don't know what that used to be. that could have been a wash rag holder, but it's long gone. I do like that the shower valve is on the outside of the shower rather than having to walk over there. So, but that's about it. We'll get out of here and move on about my day. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.